So this is a very short video. Feel free to skip through it though. Essentially, my learning design students, designing for learning, our activity is to do a brainstorm in something that's structured called Crazy Eights. Basically, you're coming up with 8 quick ideas, but it's a variation on a brainstorming exercise, and we're doing it online. And so I had the notion, what if I just simply took the elements of the task, put it into ChatGPT, got the answer. It's efficient, it's easy. And so I did that. It took about 30 seconds. And I was pleased with the results. So I put them into, what is it called? Google Notepad LM, and asked it to create a short audio podcast. So that went for about 17 minutes. And I was impressed by the technology. And so I decided to then ask critique, what are the advantages and disadvantages of my students using AI to come up with the answer versus go through the process, working together, coming up with maybe some interesting ideas, some imperfect ideas. So I have no conclusion as such, but I just think the process is valuable in terms of what it means to be a learner, what is the learning process, what is the information, what is the correct answer, what is a brainstorm, what is design thinking. It kind of like introduces maybe is a nicer word, introduces some talking points. So again, there's no definitive conclusion, and feel free to skip through various aspects of the following video. But essentially, the video itself, the audio, probably it took me less than maybe 3 minutes. Just click, click, click. The computer did all the work, but that's our talking point.
You know that feeling, right? That collective sigh, that almost audible slump when the word homework even brushes past a conversation.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost universal.
It's a universally relatable struggle, isn't it? Students dread it. Parents often find themselves, refereeing battles over it.
Mm-hmm.
And even educators, school leaders, they often question its true impact. For something so common, it feels like very few people actually like it.
And that collective feeling, that dislike, is precisely what our sources for this deep dive bring to light.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at a really fascinating case study from a large high school down in Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
A big curriculum review there basically uncovered a stark reality. Pretty much everyone, students, teachers, found homework to be a massive burden.
A burden, yeah.
And maybe more importantly, it wasn't really doing much to genuinely improve academic achievement.
Which is the core problem, isn't it? Because we're not talking about a school that, just gave out light homework.
No, not at all.
Their traditional setup was pretty substantial. Somewhere between 1 and 3 hours per subject every week.
Per subject. That adds up fast.
It really does. And the tasks. Typically pulled straight from textbooks or their learning management system, their LMS, those online platforms schools use.
Standard stuff, that.
Pretty standard, but that's a huge time commitment. And if it's not actually moving the needle on learning outcomes, well, something's got to change.
Exactly.
So our mission today is really to dig into that disconnect and explore some genuinely innovative solutions that came up.
And what makes these solutions particularly interesting, I think, is where they came from. They actually emerged from a brainstorming exercise.
Oh, right.
Yeah, facilitated by Mark Perry for a subject called designing for learning. And they used AI, believe it or not, as a kind of catalyst to generate some initial fresh ideas for this exact problem.
Okay, AI is a starting point.
Right.
But that's where we come in, right? Because while AI can spark concepts, the real magic, the real depth comes from us humans talking about them, sharing, exchanging, refining these ideas.
That human element is crucial.
Yeah.
Interpretation, context.
Absolutely. So today we're going to unpack 8 distinct, pretty forward-thinking strategies, ideas that could fundamentally transform how we think about homework, shifting it away from just busy work.
Which it so often feels like.
Totally. Towards something genuinely relevant that supports student well-being and is actually meaningful for learning. What if homework wasn't just a chore, but like a real opportunity for growth?
That's the big shift, isn't it? It's moving beyond just assigning tasks to really designing learning experiences that purposefully extend beyond the classroom. It's about being intentional.
Intentional, exactly. So with that in mind, the first batch of solutions really dive into changing what homework even looks like, moving us away from those simple, often, let's face it, tedious tasks, towards much deeper engagement. Let's kick off with an idea that really reimagines the core. Project-based homework.
Okay.
This approach shifts us firmly away from, say, rote worksheets towards more meaningful, integrated inquiry.
This is a pretty significant move from the norm, where individual subject tasks can feel really disconnected.
Right.
Project-based homework encourages these longer-term, often cross-subject projects. They kind of compel students to see the connections and apply knowledge, not just passively recall isolated facts.
And the sources had a brilliant example. They talked about a hypothetical sustainable Sydney project. So here, students wouldn't just be reading about environmental science or geography in isolation. They'd be researching actual local ecological issues.
Okay, real-world stuff.
Exactly, drawing on science, geography, civics. Then they'd propose solutions, which brings in maths, data analysis.
Application.
And finally, they'd present their findings, which hones their English and oral communication skills. It's this whole holistic, real-world challenge.
And what's crucial there, I think, is how it immediately shifts the student's role. They go from being passive recipients of information to active knowledge constructors. They're engaging in creative, real-world problem-solving. That makes the learning feel tangible, purposeful.
And much more engaging, I'd imagine.
Definitely. And this approach fosters a much more resilient, adaptable way of learning than just memorizing facts ever could. It could really help address that achievement gap by pushing for deeper understanding and application.
I can totally see that. Now, building on that idea of giving students more agency, let's look at choice boards or learning menus.
Ah, yes. Love this idea.
You know the problem with one-size-fits-all homework, right? It often fails to connect with individual kids.
Completely. It assumes everyone learns the same way, which we know isn't true.
Exactly. But choice boards offer genuine autonomy. They let students lean into their different learning styles.
This really gets to the heart of differentiation, doesn't it? It acknowledges that diversity in how students learn and what motivates them. By offering choices, you're meeting students where they are.
Precisely. Like, imagine after reading a novel, instead of every single student writing the exact same essay.
Which can feel like such a drag.
Right. They could get a choice board. Maybe they choose to create a podcast review of the book or draw a graphic novel scene from a key moment. Or perhaps they'd prefer writing a character diary, from a specific perspective. Or even debating the novel's themes with their family and then reporting back on that discussion.
If we zoom out a bit, this is all about ownership.
Yes.
When students have a genuine say in how they show their learning or what specific part they dive into, they just become far more engaged, more invested.
Naturally.
It taps right into that intrinsic motivation. It stops homework from feeling like an imposition and turns it into something more personal, maybe even empowering.
And that directly pushes back against that homework hatred by making it relevant, tailored, hopefully leading to more meaningful learning.
For sure.
Okay, so speaking of shifting where learning happens and who's responsible for what, our next concept is flipped learning.
Right, the flipped classroom model.
Now, many people listening have probably heard of the basic idea: you engage with the foundational content at home.
To free up class time.
Exactly. Instead of the traditional lecture in class, homework becomes these short, pre-learning tasks, like maybe watching a 10-minute video, skimming an article.
Or even just answering one quick question to check you've got the basic idea.
Right, which then reclaims all that valuable class time. So instead of the teacher just lecturing or introducing new stuff to a room full of students at different levels,
Yeah, trying to hit everyone at once.
that in-class session can be dedicated entirely to active application, working together on problems, getting direct, targeted help from the teacher.
It's about maximizing that face-to-face time when it counts most. And this model, crucially, can reduce stress at home. Students engage with the new info at their own pace, rewind the video if they need to.
Good point. Less pressure.
Then, when they come to class, they're hopefully better prepared to actually tackle the harder application part, but with immediate teacher guidance and help from their peers right there.
So they get support exactly when they're grappling with the trickiest bits.
Precisely. Which is often where the real struggle and frustration with traditional homework kicks in, right?
Makes perfect sense. It really shifts the focus of class time.
Improves the effectiveness of that time, yeah.
Okay, what really struck me in the research, though, was how these ideas start to push beyond just pure academics. Like, what if homework served broader goals, integrated more with real life, actively supported student well-being?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting, moving beyond just content delivery.
This next set of ideas definitely pushes those boundaries. First up, let's look at skill builders. The focus here is on low stakes but high value practice.
Right. This acknowledges something important. Consistent, short bursts of practice can actually be way more effective for long-term memory and fluency.
Then infrequent, really long sessions.
Exactly. It's about keeping those cognitive muscles active,
Yeah.
But without creating this massive mental load or feeling of overwhelm.
Right. So instead of those daunting 2-hour chunks that just invite procrastination.
We've all been there.
Totally. Imagine homework being, say, a daily 10-minute maths puzzle, or a quick language vocab game on an app, or even just a simple creative writing prompt.
It's designed to be digestible, maybe even fun, and to build that consistent habit.
Yeah.
The power here, I think, lies in transforming homework into more of a habit-building exercise. It reinforces learning in these manageable daily doses.
Small, regular steps.
And that regular low-pressure engagement can lead to more durable learning than just sporadic, intense effort or, cramming before a test.
Definitely better than cramming.
It fosters this steady buildup of knowledge and skill, which is probably much better for academic stamina in the long run.
I think we can all relate to the benefit of consistent, small efforts in anything, really.
True.
And taking that practical idea a step further, the next concept is homework as life skills.
Making it directly applicable.
Yeah, this is about redefining homework as practical, real-world tasks that are still directly linked back to the curriculum.
This approach tackles that age-old student question head-on. Why do I even need to learn this?
Exactly. It makes the relevance immediately obvious. It bridges that gap between abstract school concepts and how you actually use them.
So what would that look like?
Well, think about it. Cooking a recipe could totally be homework.
Yeah.
It links directly to fractions, measurement, maybe even the science of heat transfer.
Okay.
For budgeting for a family meal, that's maths and economics right there. Or imagine interviewing a grandparent about their life experiences.
Well, that's a lovely one.
Isn't it? That's history, literacy, maybe even social studies, all rolled into one. It just demonstrates the immediate value of those school skills.
Ultimately, this really highlights the value and application of academic skills in just everyday life. It can engage both the students and their parents, showing how what's learned in class is directly relevant outside it.
Yeah, it gets the family involved, potentially.
Moves learning from the abstract to the concrete and practical. That's a big boost for motivation and understanding, I think.
Absolutely. And for our next concept, we're shifting gears quite a bit, moving away from purely academic tasks. We have well-being and reflection homework.
Okay, this is a really important one. What if assignments were actually designed to support holistic growth? Self-awareness.
Exactly. It's a critical move towards recognizing that students aren't just, academic machines. They're whole individuals.
And it acknowledges how vital things like emotional intelligence and mental resilience are for the learning process itself.
Yes. So instead of another worksheet, maybe homework could involve journaling about a learning challenge you faced that week.
Reflective practice.
Or setting weekly goals for yourself, academic or personal. It could mean engaging in mindfulness activities, maybe guided by an app or a recording.
Things we know are beneficial for stress reduction.
Or even just tracking sleep and exercise patterns to understand how they impact your energy and focus. These are tangible, actionable tasks that contribute to a student's overall health and their actual capacity to learn effectively.
And crucially, by cultivating that metacognition, thinking about your own thinking and emotional literacy,
Yeah.
students become better equipped to manage academic stress, understand their own learning processes, maybe approach complex problems with a more resilient mindset.
Which has got to translate into better academic performance,
Yeah.
right? Even if indirectly.
Organically, yes.
Yes.
Because a well-regulated, self-aware student is simply a more effective learner. Full stop. It's about building that internal capacity for success.
That makes so much sense. So, okay, we've talked about what homework could be. But if the existing structure itself isn't working, how can schools fundamentally rethink when and how homework is assigned and done?
Right, the structural changes.
This brings us to our final segment with two really innovative, maybe even controversial structural ideas. First up, collaborative homework. Moving away from that isolating individual grind.
Yeah, the isolation of traditional homework can be a huge demotivator for a lot of students. This approach reframes homework as a social learning experience. It leverages the power of peer interaction, shared effort.
Absolutely. So instead of silently slogging through problems completely alone,
Which can feel pretty daunting.
students could maybe collaborate online to build a shared resource together, like a study wiki. Or they could quiz each other on concepts using online tools, or co-create a study guide.
You could even involve family members, like you mentioned before, turning it into a more interactive, shared learning moment. It mirrors how many problems get solved in the real world in teams.
Good point. Teamwork.
And a key insight here is just the power of peer-to-peer learning. It definitely reduces that feeling of isolation, which, as we say, can be a major barrier to even starting the homework. This model doesn't just foster deeper understanding through discussion and shared problem solving. It also builds those crucial communication and interpersonal skills, which are just as vital as academic knowledge, frankly.
Yeah, essential life skills again. Okay, and for our eighth, and maybe the most radical idea of the bunch,
The one that makes traditionalists nervous.
probably, we have homework-free weeks or an opt-in system.
Oh, okay.
This is a significant shift. It suggests periods with absolutely no assigned homework or making it totally optional for certain age groups.
This proposal directly challenges that really long-held assumption that just more homework automatically equals better learning outcomes.
Right. The more is more fallacy.
Exactly. It suggests there might be diminishing returns, that at some point the sheer quantity of homework can actually become detrimental to learning, to well-being.
So practically, you could imagine maybe trialing years 7 to 9 with no homework at all,
Bold move.
or allowing older students, say year 10 to 12, to just opt in for specific exam prep if they feel they need it.
Giving them the agency.
Yeah. And the focus shifts. You encourage reading for pleasure, getting exercise, pursuing personal interests, or just spending quality time with family. Homework only gets assigned if it's genuinely needed for mastery, not just as a default setting.
Ultimately, this idea really prioritizes student rest, personal development, intrinsic motivation. It makes homework a choice or a very targeted intervention rather than this automatic, often burdensome default.
Takes the pressure off teachers too, perhaps. Not having to mark endless busy work.
Potentially, yes. And it empowers students to take ownership of their learning in a totally new way, deciding when and how they might need to supplement what happens in class.
And you can see how a system like that could significantly reduce burnout, foster a healthier relationship with learning overall.
And allow time for that essential unstructured thinking, even play, which we know also supports academic growth in surprising ways.
Wow, what a journey through rethinking something so foundational. We've covered some truly revolutionary ideas today, haven't we?
Definitely some big shifts proposed.
Just to recap quickly, these 8 innovative strategies, they all seem to connect through several big themes. A really clear move towards relevance in learning. Increased student autonomy and choice. Integrating academic work with essential life skills. Definitely supporting holistic student well-being.
And fostering collaborative learning.
Right. All of these are aiming to fundamentally replace that old hours from textbooks model that, well, as that Sydney School case study showed us, just wasn't working for anyone involved.
Precisely. It's all about trying to create a more dynamic, more responsive, and ultimately just a more effective learning environment.
Yeah.
One that genuinely serves the needs of students today.
So what does all this mean for you listening right now? Whether you're a student trying to make sense of your assignments or a parent navigating those homework battles.
Or an educator looking for fresh approaches.
Or maybe just someone interested in how we learn. These ideas, we hope, offer some concrete pathways, ways to make learning potentially more effective, definitely less stressful, and genuinely engaging.
And it's worth just reflecting for a moment on the unique origin of these ideas, too.
The AI brainstorm.
Yeah. The source material highlighted that these strategies were sparked by that brainstorming exercise Mark Perry facilitated using AI.
Yeah.
But, and this is the key part, it emphasized that the human exchange, the critical thinking, the refinement of those ideas,
Yeah.
that is paramount.
Absolutely. The AI was a tool, not the final answer.
Right.
Which kind of leads us to a fascinating final thought for you to ponder. If artificial intelligence can help us brainstorm such profound shifts in something as fundamental as homework, what does that tell us about the future of educational innovation?
Big question.
And maybe more importantly, how essential is it that we humans continue to be right at the heart of interpreting, refining, and implementing these ideas, making sure we foster genuine human connection in the learning process itself?
Because ultimately, learning is, and probably always should be, a deeply human endeavor.
And the best tools, whether AI or anything else, should just serve to enhance that connection, right? Not replace it.
Tension, right? Can AI boost creativity, or is the real meaning, found in the struggle? We'll hit three main things: the facilitator's role, what AI is really good for here, and crucially, how students find that sense of meaning. Okay, let's get into it. So first up, the facilitator. Often overlooked, maybe. Your source mentions Mark Perry from UTS, University of Technology, Sydney, and his Designing for Learning program. What's really interesting is how he gets students to just pause, to reflect. They use all sorts of media AI, sure, but also audio, video, human interaction, design thinking. But it's not just using them. He pushes them on the how and the why. Why this tool for this problem?
Exactly. And that really throws the spotlight onto the facilitator's role, doesn't it? It's more than just tech support. It's guiding students to actually grasp the impact. The impact of different tools, different processes, not just focusing on, did I get the right answer? That kind of guidance fosters, well, a reflective learning space. It goes deeper than just the final thing they make.
Right, it's about the process. So, okay, let's talk about the tech itself. AI specifically. Where does it actually add value in this creative process? The source gives a specific example. Using AI for Crazy Eights, that quick sketching exercise, 8 ideas, 8 minutes.
Yeah, the rapid brainstorming one.
Exactly. And the advantages AI brings are, well, pretty clear. It can spit out lots of possibilities fast, takes some of the mental load off, gives you a wider range of starting points, maybe spark some inspiration if you're stuck. It really shows that quantity over quality idea in action.
Yeah, and if you think about it, AI is acting like a powerful assistant or maybe a scaffold there. It uses its speed, its ability to cover a lot of ground, to kickstart things, or just to widen the perspective in a way that might be hard for humans under time pressure. It's a good example of algorithmic help when used thoughtfully.
Okay, so AI brings speed, breadth, that quantity burst. But, and this is where the source gets really thought-provoking, it argues this speed, this efficiency, might actually bypass the learning bit. The struggle. The whole point of Crazy Eights wasn't just getting 8 sketches down, was it?
No, not really.
It was about that pressure, pushing you past your first easy ideas, forcing you to keep going when it gets hard.
That's where the creative stretch happens. That pressure, that constraint, it forces your imagination. It can bring out really unconventional stuff. And importantly, it lets you see your own thinking patterns, your habits, your blocks.
Okay. So the argument is AI just skips that.
Yeah. It sort of delivers finished ideas instantly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is efficient, no doubt. But the source questions if it limits the personal learning that comes from grappling with the challenge, that grappling, that struggle. That's often where the deepest meaning clicks for students, where they build resilience and understand how they create.
Right. So there's a potential trade-off, efficiency versus maybe deeper personal learning. So how do we navigate that? How do we get the best of both? Use the AI and get that valuable struggle.
Well, the source suggests what it calls the richest approach. It's about balance. Use the AI-generated ideas, sure, but use them as like starting prompts or provocations. Then still have the humans, the students generate their own ideas under those timed conditions. That way you keep the creative stretch, the human element, the struggle, but you're also using AI's strengths, its speed and breadth strategically.
So integration, not replacement.
Exactly. Thoughtful integration, augmenting the human process, not just cutting it short.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive then.
Yep.
It seems pretty clear. Technology like AI, incredibly powerful, offers speed, offers breadth, no question. But the facilitator's thoughtful guidance and that personal student experience of, well, wrestling with the problem.
Creative struggle.
Yeah, that struggle. Those seem absolutely essential for finding real meaning in learning. It's about using both well. Which leaves us with a question for you. How do we keep designing learning that uses AI smartly as that scaffold? While making absolutely sure students still get to do the hard yards, that essential human grappling to really grow creatively and learn deeply, something to think about.
So I mentioned earlier that there is no conclusion, but this is just to end the actual video. Essentially, the reason I put together the little AI kind of resource is just to demonstrate, many of you would know already, just to demonstrate how easy it is. Click, click, click. and then it took longer to actually play than it did to create. However, there are some limitations or, things to keep in mind. This idea of it's interpreted the question in its own particular way, and then it's made assumptions. You might have heard in the language, it was not 100% acknowledging that it's just a hypothetical. It was kind of framing it as though there is a real Sydney school, and this has been based, etc. Also, the solutions that the AI had offered, they look good enough, but generally we need to have evidence of certain approaches, or we need to check sources, that sort of thing. Technically, I could have clicked on, I didn't demonstrate that in the video itself, but I could have clicked on some of the links that were provided. And then I guess we kind of, homework was just one example. We could have looked at any topic, but it's the idea that as learning designers, we're often in a position, or we should be in a position, where we're using design thinking really early on in the process to gather ideas from stakeholders, even from end users, from people that are going to be benefiting from the course. Sometimes a bit tricky to get students involved, and there's different issues within that, but that's a really popular approach now, this idea of co-design, where the learning designer is teamed with a subject matter expert, as well as maybe community members, people that are like practitioners in the field, lived experience, that sort of thing. And so I guess that folds kind of gently and possibly gently and erratically with the use of AI, because what would AI know? Maybe it's based on overseas information, or maybe it's based on something that's not relevant to our local situation. But there's certainly a lot of advantage to using these tools, and it certainly can create resources. I mean, that was, I downloaded the audio, put it into a video timeline. You might have noticed the stock imagery that I used. So you can start to produce very quick and efficient learning resources. However, the content definitely needs to be checked. A whole range of different things. And I guess it was good at the end where that was a second prompt just to emphasize the human factor, where sometimes cheating ourselves out of that connection, that sort of democratic representation of gathering all the stakeholders within a process, getting their thoughts, bashing around a few ideas. And if we're using AI, sometimes it's a rush to an efficiency. Anyway, I'll leave it up in the air like that. So hopefully the video and all of the ideas within it will trigger a few discussion points. Thank you.